Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. A reminder that the show will also be available on podcast by tomorrow morning. If you are joining us live, please drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a two in the comments if you are watching the recording. My guest for this week is Lezel Molefe, an entrepreneur, social worker, and TEDx speaker. She focuses on mental health issues at work, emotional well-being, employee wellness, and development. Lezel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, wow, Grace, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be on your show today. So I'm looking forward to chatting to you a little bit. Thank you.
So, so let's jump straight into questions. Tell us your story, maybe where do you come from, and outside of work, who is Lezel Molefe? Give us that backstory.
Okay, so I am. Wow. I grew up in Belhar, which is a suburb in the northern suburbs of Cape Town, and was born and raised there. Attended primary school there and attended high school in Belhar, and then I studied at UCT, and I enrolled to study social work. Um, since then, it's like 22 years later, and I'm still a social worker. But I've had my ups and my downs in my career. I've worked in different sectors, and today I couldn't say that I'm a proud owner of Ikigai Therapeutic and Development Agency, which is an agency or an organization, not an organization, but a company, a registered company that offers clinical psychosocial services to corporates as well as NGO sectors. So we look after this, and we look after the mind, we look after the soul. But that's a little bit boring. I need to say to you that I'm a mom of three boys, happily married, and yeah, I've been a mom for 13 years now. And what a beautiful experience that has been for me. Um,
Long shoot.
yeah. No, I enjoy being mommy.
And so you mentioned you initially trained in social work. On the face of it, it seems, again, on the face of it, it seems less applicable to corporates and more applicable to people in need in the community. How did you branch over from that one side to working with corporates?
It's funny you should ask that question, and I think it's a very good question that you're asking, a very relevant question, because the perception of social work is that we remove children from families and very abusive situations. We are the ones sitting in the grey building, having to deal with pensions, having to deal with grants, doing the paperwork, going out and seeing that people are okay within the community. So there's different aspects of social work, and what we as social workers who are now currently working within the corporate sector and dealing with employee wellness is a bunch of social workers that actually started realizing that, you know what, when we were working within, whether it be the private or the public sector, we were suffering from burnout, which was the case for me. I suffered from burnout. I was struggling to cope within my job. I was emotionally worn out. And even though there were supervisions, opportunities for us to tap into, nobody really cared about the well-being of social workers or any kind of employee, might I add. So that is why I branched out into the corporate sector and into employee wellness, simply because I knew that there was this avenue that was lacking within different business sectors, whether it was the public or the private sector. So that's how I branched out into doing that.
So I saw something interesting. Well, I found out it's Mental Health Month. And I'm going to be
Yes.
honest, if someone in my network didn't tell me last week that it's Mental Health Month, I would have had no idea. So, what is the benefit of a month like this? Like, is it just badly marketed? What's the What's the background, if you don't mind me asking?
It's a very busy month. So it's not only just mental health month, it's also cancer awareness month, and it's also pitbull awareness month. So there's a lot of awareness campaigns going around in this month. And unfortunately, mental health has always been stigmatized as the taboo discussion. It's the discussion that we don't have. It's the discussion that we refuse to talk about when somebody either commits suicide in our family, or somebody's depressed and withdrawn in our family, or in our friend circle, or even at work. We decide, we as the people around the person who is challenged with a mental health issue, decide to then not talk about these kind of things. So mental health is not an easy topic for people to engage in, and it's also not an easy topic for people to admit to. Like if I am sitting with feelings of isolation, or I'm isolated, or I have feelings of sadness, or I have heavy feelings, heavy emotional issues, I'm not going to come out and say that easily, because the perception that people have of you is that you are weak, and that you are unstable, and that you cannot do your job. And what we are trying to say in mental health awareness is that despite how sad we feel, despite how unbalanced we might be in your perception, who is not going through mental health issues, despite that, we are still people, and we can still become fully functioning, contributing citizens in society. Even if it means that I go from teacher to being teacher aide as a result of my psychiatric disability or my mental health issue, it still means that I can contribute to society. Um, so there's a lot of stigma attached to mental health issues. When somebody is depressed or anxious, we suddenly say that they are crazy. Where do we come on that? But it's because of what the media has done. It's because of what people have said. It's because of the information that is filtered down from generation to generation about what mental health issues are. And funny enough, in our in COVID-19, in this pandemic, there are many people who are suddenly struggling with anxiety, with depression, with issues of not being able to sleep, not having an appetite. So there's definitely a lot of more people are talking about the fact that they're struggling, but nobody wants to really come to the fore and tackle those issues and tackle the stigma. So that is why mental health awareness is not getting the campaigning that it's supposed to be getting, because people are afraid. And when we are afraid, we tend to ignore. We tend to build up a boundary. Yeah,
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
If anybody's got any questions for Lezel, please add them to the comment section now. We will be responding to all the questions towards the end, but sometimes they come through late, so please add them so that we don't miss them. You mentioned, I mean, mental health is becoming more talked about. I mean, in the past, they would have probably said, stop being lazy, keep
Yes,
working. Interestingly, I'm lucky that the company that I work for, we're allowed to take a mental health day as a sick day.
that's
Um,
fantastic.
can you give us tips potentially about how to guard your mental health at work?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's one thing that I am very passionate about, and that's being mindful. Mindful in every situation that you are faced with. So it's not just about, I've got this report that needs to be submitted by 5 p.m. this afternoon, but I've also got this that needs to be done. So you've got like a whole list of stuff that needs to be done. But what we don't realize is that if we just breathe and we just become a little bit more mindful of what our tasks are and focus on each task one at a time. I even with my clients, I break it down even further and say one breath at a time, as opposed to taking that basket of to-do list and not knowing where to start first. So at work, it's vitally important that your mindset is of such a nature that you are able to concentrate on your work, but be mindful about your tasks for the day. The other thing that also really helps is that we as not only employees or colleagues, but also as managers, start becoming empathetic and considerate and exercise a little bit of more compassion within our teams, especially during these difficult times. Because we don't understand, we would never know what somebody else is going through at home. We don't know whether the financial situations at home are a bit tough. We do not know whether this person has dreaded getting out of bed this morning. So for me, it's always about being kind, because we will never know what somebody else is going through. So that compassion needs to come out from the top right down and filter right down as a culture within your company. um, Cultures need to change, environments need to change. So we have to start thinking about our desk. And that's basically where you're sitting for the next 8 hours if you're not working remotely. You're sitting at your desk and your desk is a mess. Come now, people, this is not going to work for you. If your desk is a mess, your head's a mess. If your head's a mess, your heart's a mess. If your heart's a mess, your whole system is a mess, and you won't be able to do what you're supposed to do. So it gets down, if we get down to the practicality of things, your desk needs to be ordered in such a way that you feel calm, balanced, and ready to work. So it's really those practical things. And then the other thing that I'm also always telling my clients is that take your breaks. Take your coffee breaks, take your short breaks. Go and meditate for 5 minutes. You know that you can meditate for 5 minutes and feel refreshed. And managers should be encouraging us to be taking 5 minutes just to get up from your desk and walk, go and say hi to a colleague and come back, not have a whole long chat and have a tea break when it's actually just supposed to be a leg break. Um, so so I encourage that as well. Take your breaks, breathe. You will never believe how important our breath is. I am of the belief that our breath is our anchor. So without our breath, we cannot. Because what happens when you have a panic attack or you have an anxiety attack? Your breath goes like this, right? And your heart rate kicks up and things just go crazy within your head. So it's vitally important that we always are aware of how we breathe. So it's in through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and very steadily, so that we can keep that heart rate going. Um, those are just a few of the tips that I can actually share with you. It's very practical. What people don't understand is that irrespective of how difficult your situation is at work, you have the power to control what your reaction will be. um, I cannot change that my manager is having a bad day, or I cannot change that we have a target set for the month. I can't change that. What I can change is how I respond to it and how I plan my day so that I can meet the target. So the power lies within ourselves to make things a little bit better within our work setting. So we if we want to change anything in our work setting, anything about our mental health even, we have the power to do that. So it's never that anybody else has the power to fix your mental health. You have the power to fix your mental health.
I like that. So basically, concentrate on the things that you can control and
Yeah.
not worrying about the things you can't control.
Because what do we do? We're always worrying about the things that we can't control. We can't control the weather. So we worry about the fact that it's raining tomorrow in Cape Town. I mean, really, no, that's not that's not. And then we stress about it. And that causes so much damage to our system because we're stressing about it. What does stress do? It buggers up your whole system. So it's the less stress you have, and you can have less stress if you just worry about the things that you can control, because then you'll see change.
100%. 100%. I was scrolling through your LinkedIn and I noticed that you talk about prioritizing mental health, but
Mm.
that's a change in approach to most others who say, do your work and manage your mental health. Was that intentional? And maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Look, I think without your mental health, you can't work. Eh? Let's just put it out there. You know, without you being able to concentrate, without you being happy, without you living a purposeful life, without and that's basically prioritizing your mental health. Without that, you won't be able to meet the targets. You won't be able to write the report. You won't be able to. Yes, we can manage our work, but we're not able to manage our work if we are not able to manage our or prioritize our mental health. So the two are very, very, very related. But once people reach out to employee wellness programs, and once people reach out to employee assistance programs, they've reached the point where they cannot cope no more. And because of that, their work performance is being affected. Their family relationships are being affected. And this is the reason why they reach out to a program such as Ikigai. So it's yeah, I for me, I think prioritizing our mental health is much more important than managing our work, because without our mental health we won't be able to manage our work.
Let's change tack a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about corporate bullying. So there
Mm.
are people out there who are experiencing it firsthand. Or what advice do you have for them to help them improve their situations?
You know, what are we always telling children? We're always telling children, report the bully, report the bully, report the bully. I saw a clip the other day on TikTok, and it was amazing. It just like did this whole mind shift for me. When we say to somebody, um, when dealing with bullying, right? What when we say to somebody, report this person, what are we teaching them? We're teaching them to be the victim, right? Stand up, show up, show up for yourself. That's to me, and this is only a personal. This is not theoretically. It's nowhere theoretically based. Not at all. It's a personal experience, and it's a personal feeling that I have. It's a personal opinion. Stand up, show up for yourself, because again, bullying is all about power. Bullying is, whether it doesn't matter whether it's corporate bullying or whether it is a bully at school or a bully within the family itself. Bullying is all about power, and once that person has power over you, you allow that person to do whatever they wish to do with you, right? I'm not saying have fist fights. I'm saying show up for yourself, be assertive. Yes, you can report it, but make sure that your boundaries are clear, and that's this person is that you need to acknowledge the fact, or this person needs to know that, or the bully needs to know that this is not okay with me, and I'm not going to allow it. And because I'm not going to allow it, there are steps that I'm going to have to take in order to make you stop. There's where the power is taken back. The power is taken back is when I say to myself, or I say to the bully, I'm not okay with it. This is not okay with me. And for this reason, I will take steps to ensure that you will not do this to me and neither to anybody else within this building. You know? So for me, everybody, I don't take lightly to being the victim in a situation like that. For me, it's all about showing up for yourself and putting your foot down for yourself, because you are worth more than anything. You are worth more than any toxic working environment, you know. And I'm sure, and that's why we have policies and regulations in place so that people who are being bullied are protected. But half of the time, when people do reach out and ask for assistance with regards to police, it gets it gets told to you like, just grow up, just leave it, just ignore it, don't worry about it, or the bully gets
Be the
away
bigger
with it.
person.
Be the bigger person. No, darling, show up for yourself. Um, because at the end of the day, if you don't do something about it, there's another person that will fall victim to a bully. But again, I'm not condoning any kind of activity which is violent, aggressive, and all of that. There are policies and regulations in place. And there are steps that you can take in order to ensure that a bully doesn't get mess with anybody else ever again, and yourself.
That's great advice. That's great advice.
Mm.
This is my favorite question that I like to ask my guests. What is
Okay.
one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Um. Wow. Um. Adulting is not easy. But you're gonna make it. You know what I mean?
Short and
Um.
sweet, but brilliant.
Adulting is not easy, but you're gonna make it. And well, knowing myself, there's like a list of things that I'll probably tell myself. So adulting is not easy, but you'll make it. And always remember to do you.
I saw a quote somewhere where someone said people overestimate what they can do in the short term and underestimate what they can do in the long term.
Hey, I tell
And that
you.
also talks to you're going to make
Mm,
it. You're going to make
yeah,
it.
you're gonna make it.
Let's go.
Because we stress,
Let's go
we
through some.
stress so much.
That's also very true. That's very true.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go. Let's see if there's any questions coming through. We've got a question
Okay.
here from Itmiling Kachedi. He says, yes, we are aware about mental health issues, but when a friend comes through with their issues, then that is where we as normal humans are not equipped to help them. It's not that we do not talk about mental health, but the thing is that we just don't know how to help them. Do you have any advice for Itmiling?
That's Tumaling. Thank you so much for your question. I think that's one of the most difficult things because we're not talking about it a lot. We're not educated enough to talk about, or we don't even know how to be with somebody who's feeling depressed, or we don't know whether a hug's gonna be okay. We don't know whether what should we do? Should we call them because they're probably not going to answer the call? You know, it is as simple as I hear you and I'm here for you. It's as simple as that. What do you need me to do? Because a lot of the times I mean, I do it myself. I want to fix people. I want to, when it comes to my friends, I want to fix everything. I want to make sure that you're okay. I want to make sure that you're comfortable. But in my professional life, I'm always asking, what do you need? How can I help? There's this, oh gosh, yes, New Amsterdam. There's this doctor, the doctor who is the
How can
CEO.
I
He
help you?
always, how can I help? And that left a mark in me when I first watched the series, because that's the question we should be asking mental health people who struggle with mental health issues. How can I help? Because we don't understand the complexity, or we as humans don't understand the complexity of psych. We don't understand the complexity of mental health issues. The mere fact that that they've approached us to help is a big thing already, right? We see our friends struggling, we see our family members struggling, and all we need to do is ask, how can I help? That's all. And if they're not able to tell you how you can help, you can say, but I could possibly find somebody who could help you, and I'll go with you. So it's that support structure that everybody needs. We don't need to perform miracles. That's not what we need to do. As friends and family members, we don't need to perform miracles. It's just, how can I help? And if I can't help, I can find help for you.
I suppose it's
I
also
hope
not
that
we don't
answers.
need we're not going to resolve the issue, but
Mm-mm.
being there is half the battle won.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because with somebody who suffers from depression, it's a lonely world. It's a lonely world, and half of the time somebody who's got depression doesn't understand what they're feeling or how to express it. And when you open up the can and say, how can I help, it opens up the avenue of possible assistance that they could receive.
Now, is there anything from your side, any last few words or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Look, I do think that mental health is there's something that I actually do want to say, and it's probably going to be part of my next campaign after Mental Health Month. Is that as globally and even in South Africa, we're going to have a huge pandemic on our hands post COVID. And that's going to be the mental health pandemic, because people are going to have unresolved anxiety. People are going to have unresolved issues of or symptoms of depression and all sorts of things. And because there was no, or people are too afraid to talk about these mental health issues, we're going to see a lot of people coming up and saying, but I've got this issue and I don't know how to deal with it. There's going to be a greater, and already countries like Japan and yeah, like Japan are seeing it already, the mental health impact that it's had, or the impact that people's mental health, the impact that COVID has had on people's mental health is already visible. So, I mean, in South Africa, I honestly think that if us as a country do not understand the fallout after this pandemic, that which is mental health, then we have a problem on our hands. Yeah, yeah, we will.
Thank you very much. That's a great way to end.
Mhm.
Keep keep a lookout for your mental health out there. Just a reminder: the show has been live on YouTube and will be available on our podcast by tomorrow. If you are watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value to you, don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Lizelle, thank you so much for your time.
Wes, thank you very much for granting this opportunity for me to chat to you about, and everybody watching to chat about mental health issues. It's something that can be, it can be helped. And I think that if people have hope and they know where to find the resources, then we can deal with it.
And thank you, everybody